Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 419 of the Hoots Podcast here on this Thursday, June 27th, 2024. It's yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez, coming to you live from the Break Free Room here in Chicago, Illinois. I hope you guys are in good spirits. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the world of professional wrestling. Time doesn't stop when you're having fun in wrestling, right? Whether you're a content creator, what? Transcriber like myself, what? News reporter, what? Lots of stuff goes on, man. It's kind of crazy how fast this year's gone by, and just the weeks in general. Like I feel like I could blink my eye, and tomorrow will be Monday, and I gotta get ready to do Raw. So um, cherish each day, like I say. Always remind yourself to be the authentic product that is yourself. I think that's one of the things we kind of take for granted is the power that we have within ourselves and knowing who we are and what makes us special. And I don't think us within our own vessels really recognize that, or at least put the effort to try to acknowledge ourselves. In a lot of ways, a lot of people um, seek validation from others without knowing what makes you happy for yourself. You know, and the saying is true. You are the main character of your life. You are writing the story. Your actions are writing your story, but God is also guiding you along the way too. That's very important. Like I said, I hope you guys are in good spirits. I know there's a pay per view coming up on Sunday for Forbidden Door. We're not doing what the hell's wrong with AEW, but I'd be remiss without telling you guys what's going on and give you my perspective. Now that I'm kind of a casual fan of AEW, oh, oh, uh, don't just the podcast settings, don't adjust your radio dials. I did say that I am a fan of AEW. Much contrary to popular belief, I wanted to succeed. But now that I'm a casual viewer of AEW, I have my takes here and there, and we can get into the whole Forbidden Door stuff a little later on. But if you have any predictions for that pay per view coming up this Sunday in Long Island, I'm kidding. I know my buddy Andrew Baydal would kick my ass if I said in Long Island. It's on Long Island. I gotta make sure that I got my facts straight. Anyways, that pay per view's coming up on Sunday. I'm not covering it. Maybe I'll find a way to watch it another time. But AEW versus New Japan taking place in the UBS Arena in on Long Island. Why is it everything with New Yorkers always has to be pretentious? And I don't know. That's another show for another time. Anyways, I think this episode is gonna be a little abbreviated. Not that I'm in any bad mood or bad spirits. You know, trying to reevaluate and see what best fits for you guys when it comes to this particular podcast, especially now that I've been doing it mostly by myself for the last year and a half. And even though we've been having this show for 8 years, doesn't mean that I can't take time to um, observe and analyze the flow of the show, what we can do and evolve to make it better. And I want this podcast to be an enjoyable experience for you. And there's a lot of context that I bring to the table, and sometimes these podcasts go over 2 hours. Sometimes I like to share interview clips from podcasts and stuff like that to provide context to what's going on with the wrestling stuff. So sometimes these episodes get longer than what I originally intended. Usually, I always try to shoot for at least 80 or 90 minutes, but sometimes just the nature of the conversation or the flow of the show, or if I have a guest on or we have some fun, like an anniversary show, those shows go longer. But just because we're past 400 episodes and over 1 million downloads on Anchor/Spotify does not mean that I can't take the opportunity to take a step back and kind of reevaluate what we can to keep the show special for what it is. And I don't want it to ever bore you. I don't want it to overstay its welcome. So I do want to say thank you for each and every single one of you who do continue to watch and listen to this podcast. By the way, for those who are watching live on YouTube, please do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel as we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Got a nice little collection of subscribers over the weekend, which was nice to see. I uploaded a new guitar cover, which features the song that you just heard as our intro song for the podcast this week. It's called Another Try by Josh Turner. As many of you guys know, I'm into country music, and I love playing guitar and stuff like that. So I just wanted to upload that cover on my channel. You want to go check it out, please do that. And I deeply appreciate it. Like I said, on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I want to get one of those plaques. I think we deserve it. So let's continue up the momentum with the subscribers here on YouTube. And excuse me, let me take a sip of water really quick. All right, that's good. Besides that, make sure to follow the podcast as well on Spotify. That really help us out a lot. Spotify is free of charge. That really help us out when it comes to like potentially getting some revenue back on the podcast stream for us. Spotify is very, I wouldn't say picky, but they're very particular with who they give automated ads and revenue to when it comes to podcasts. Now, the show has done very well to the point, like I said, we're at 1.4, almost to 1.5 billion downloads and plays, but we also need to boost up our Spotify followership stats. So if you can help us out there, it's free of charge. Tell your friend about it. If you don't want to see my ugly face, you could check out the podcast, the audio versions of the show as well. But that's it for the podcast plugs. Only other plugs I want to mention here, you can follow me on X if you like at the Hoots Podcast. And I'm also at Joshie Lopez Music on Instagram. Check out my transcripts in the results section of WrestlingHeadlines.com. And if you'd like to see me do some more content or like to see me on other people's podcasts and shows and stuff like that, let me know. I'm open to opening up my schedule and doing some more work. And for those who've been watching and listening to shows know that I'm in a little bit of a transitional period of my life right now. And like kind of was talking about in the beginning of last week's episode, I just could tell that my heart is not here anymore in Chicago. Like I'm just ready to go. Like it doesn't, I had a set mindset of like, okay, cool. Let me be realistic about it and just wait to the end of the year and go to Florida there. Like for me right now, if I had my druthers, I would be there right now. I would be there tomorrow. Hell, I would leave tonight if it was that easy. Honestly, it's not. There's still some stuff I got to do on my end. Just be practical to, make sure I have enough money and stuff like that. I get that. I get all my ducks in a row. I could say that I'm pretty dead set on the apartment that I'm shooting for. I'll keep that to myself. I've been doing research. Been trying to save as much money as I can. But for those who've been following along with my journey, like my heart is not here in Chicago. I feel like I'm stuck. I'm going through the motions, and it's just like each day that goes on here and each week that keeps going by, I feel like I'm wasting my time here. I really am. And not to say that I'm not happy. There's a lot of things to be happy with in my life. I'm happy with myself. I'm proud of the stuff that I've been able to heal from over the years. Very proud of the success that we've been able to have with the show. The articles are kicking ass. There's a lot of things to be happy about. Most importantly, my mental health is in a good place. Even more important, my health is getting in a much better place too, compared to where I was this time last year. You guys can go check the videos for proof and evidence. But I still a big part of me inside feel just completely, I wouldn't say empty, but incomplete. And something's missing, and I am not. Me being here in Chicago, like being back home after the trip, I'm like, I don't know, something's off. I can't say that I'm sad or anything like that. It's just like, what am I still doing here? Is the biggest thing. And the quicker I can move out of Chicago, the better. And that's where my heart and my brain's at. And at the end of the day, I'm always going to listen to my heart, you know. So, all that being said, there's a couple clips here I wanted to play for you guys. I like to share some food for thought things. This is not just a wrestling podcast. We will talk about wrestling. There was an epic show that took place at the Rosemont Horizon this past Friday night, and we got Money in the Bank coming around. We got NXT Heatwave coming around in Toronto next week. I mentioned Forbidden Door. We'll get to that. We got your questions as well. A bunch of questions this week from Mike and Chris, which I appreciate. And those who are watching or listening live, please, you can send me questions for the Back Porch Q&A session. The reason I named it Back Porch is because the vibe that I want for the show is I want it to feel like as if I'm sitting next to you at a party or just a fellowship backstage, not backstage, but back in the back porch setting at nighttime, shooting the shit. Maybe you're smoking or drinking some beer or whatever, and I'm drinking water and just having a good time, like we're having just a good chat. I try to give out some life advice as best as I can, and that's how I want to conclude this monologue. But also, a couple other things I wanted to mention. I saw the news today that Dijak is not getting his contract renewed, which is unfortunate on my end because now that I only cover WWE shows, I won't get an opportunity to cover his matches, which really sucks. I think it is a loss on WWE's end, and it's very unfortunate because I think Donovan Dijak is a fantastic performer. Honestly, his skills on social media doesn't need to be further explained. You can see it for yourself, or you could get ratioed too. That's another thing. But I'm a big fan of Dijak, and obviously he could be a great asset to any promotion that he chooses to go after in this run. And again, I do feel it's rather unfortunate that this is happening. But I wish Dijak the best, and I had a blast covering his work, especially the resurgence in his career in NXT. I've been a big fan of Dijak. I will remain a fan of Dijak because he's a good person. And, we had the bit called What the Hell is Wrong with AEW, but anybody that knows me knows that my heart is with pro wrestling. I don't have an allegiance to one brand over another. I'm not one of these fans like, oh, this guy's a traitor because he went to AEW and blah, 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 blah. AEW does enough shit on their own for problems on their own, and they don't need petty tribalism reasons to have people go after them, but like, again, I don't have allegiance to other promotions over another. Like for me, there's a lot of times over the years that I covered more outside WWE promotions than WWE throughout the week, and I want all the wrestling business to succeed and all the boys and girls to have as much money as humanly possible. And I have no doubt that Dijak's going to get back on his feet and he's going to kick some ass wherever he decides to go next. So I did appreciate, had a blast getting to cover his work. I wouldn't say I take it personally when I see these performances go, but it's a little bummed out. Like you are in a way covering, and I try my best with my transfers to pay homage and respect to these performers. Yes, I'm doing a breakdown of their matches, and no, I'm not in the wrestling business, but I feel like, humbly speaking, I feel like I'm really at least one of the best in my field when it comes to writing down sequences of moves and breaking down a match and just doing a play-by-play recap of shows. I really try my best to take my perspective or my fan perspective away when I do these transcripts because I want them to be a point of reference for those who take the time to read them. And And again, it's a respect to the performers. Like even when I see a botch or a mistake in a match, I'm not going to point that out because again, I'm trying to respect these performers. It's not about me to point out their mistakes and flaws, and I'm not going to be giving out 4 or 5 or 6 star ratings or match grades for matches or promo segments. I just think it's um, outdated, lame, and reeks of clout chasing, if you will. But we'll get into the wrestling. Like I said, this is going to be an abbreviated edition of the Hoots Podcast this week. But before we get to that, like I said, make sure to like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and I want to leave you guys with some bits of wisdom here for our opening monologue and some relationship and life clips here. The first one here is from a popular content group called Tonight's Conversations. And hope you guys enjoy this clip because and those who participate in situationships, I think you should perk your ears up and gain some wisdom here.
That's the reason that I picked her, is because she didn't put herself first. The reason I am here is because you choose me over you. You compromise or sacrifice and give of yourself at your expense just to make me feel good. You fill me up, although you've been drained. And this is why I like you. And here's the thing. Oftentimes people think someone's presence is like a validation of their love for them. But no, sometimes it's just you too convenient to let go. When you say unconditional love, oftentimes that means for a lot of women, you let it just run all over you. And so I just want you to understand, sometimes for some men, this is why this person is stringing you along, is because you're refusing to let go of the rope. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault here, but I'm saying toxic people are people that are not healed, are in a great space, are looking to pray. They're not going to let you go willingly. You feel me? They're not going to be like, oh, let me stop around Keisha and fucking up her blessings. They're not going to say that. So you have to say, I'm done with it.
So that's the first part there. And this next one here, let me bring this back up here on the screen. This one from another good one here from Albiner Eugene Jr.
Do you feel like you're the main character in your story? And other people, in a sense, are like extras in your story, but you are the main character. I would dare to say that the reason why so many of us are stressed out, frustrated, overwhelmed is because we're the main character. Although that may feel good, sound good, look good, like, oh, I'm the main character. Reality is it's stressing you out. Like every time I get on a plane, I get to see like this world is big. We really aren't that important. I didn't say you're not important. We're not that important. And I believe that when you elevate who you think you are, you're gonna be under a lot more pressure than you need to be. Like if you think about people, the people that people like to rock with, they don't rock with people who take themselves too serious. Oh, you just did something embarrassing and now you're like freaking out. It's like, yo, relax. Like, what, you don't make mistakes. Thinking too highly of yourself almost robs you of even being human. The fact of the matter is we're all flawed. We all fall short of the glory of God. We all need grace. We all need God. We are literally nothing without God. But I'm gonna just give you the scripture to kind of wrap this up. And he says, I'm giving each of you this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourself. And another translation says, don't think of yourself more highly than you ought. This is not the full context of that scripture, but the principle in itself carries through. Try to stop thinking too highly of yourself. It's literally causing stress to you, especially when you walk with God. He's the main character. The Bible says he's the author and finisher of our faith, but he's also the God that's going to finish the work he started within us. And I'm so grateful that I get to depend on him to ensure that the story not just finishes, but finishes well. Like I think about this song, we're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go because we're ordinary people. Maybe we should just take it slow. It's really encouraging to think less of yourself, not in a degrading way, just being able to realize like wherever I'm taking myself too seriously, wherever I think I'm all that in a bag of chips, I'm not.
All right. Shout out to Albiner and shout out to tonight's conversations for those life clips. Some wisdom for you guys here on a Thursday. Before we go to our first commercial break, we got a comment here from Byron Cutler here on YouTube. What's going on, Luce? I appreciate you for checking this out. Says Rhea Ripley must go through something. Her whole career has been about adversity and heartbreak when she returns, not win the championship straight away. It's an interesting comment, man. There's a lot of assumptions of how things are going to go for Rhea Ripley once she comes back from injury. I think it is inevitable that she will be a champion again. She did have a long title reign. That's true. She had over a year of a title reign. As far as adversity is concerned, her character is such that, like, she has such an appeal from a character, looks, everything standpoint that it really, whether she's fighting for championships or not, I think that Rhea Ripley will always be like a focal point on the shows, and her talent will speak for herself as far as whether she needs to go through adversity or heartbreak and stuff like that. Obviously, there's going to be a elongated story here with this grudge feud with Morgan, and we'll see where that goes. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. And we can't talk about adversity. I mean, I know she beat Asuka for the Women's Championship at the WrestleMania I went to in Tampa Bay a few years ago. But she has dealt with some adversity and some injuries, too, along the way. So it's not like she hasn't dealt with the adversity. But you can't deny talent for what they are, and especially the fact of her talent level. She's undeniable, and that's just a shoot. So I can't wait to see Rhea Ripley come back. Anyways, we'll come back. We'll get into what happened this week in WWE and more here on episode 419 of the Hoots Podcast. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hoots Podcast. Time to talk about what happened this week in WWE. Lots to discuss all across TV. A very strong week of television. And I think, in my opinion, some follow-up as well on TV that I've enjoyed so far. We are just a week and a half away from Money in the Bank and Heat Wave taking place in the Great White North. Or as those in the rap world know, OVO land. And we got Money in the Bank and NXT Heatwave taking over the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So excited to do a preview for that show next week. We'll talk a little bit about the card as it is currently set. But there's some things I do want to address. A lot of big picture stuff with the feuds and stuff. I don't know how long the segment's going to be, but I'm going to fire off like a bunch of different takes, if you will, as far as my observations from this week in WWE. If you guys had a favorite match, promo, storyline, anything that's categorized positively or negatively from this week in WWE, love to hear you guys in the comments section or here on the live chat here as we're recording this right now on YouTube and on Twitter. What? So let's get into this. I had a big case of FOMO this past Friday. I'm not gonna lie. It's really been bumming me out that I haven't had really a chance to go to these wrestling shows at the Rosemont Horizon for the last, 2 years or so. I don't know what it is with Allstate Arena. Maybe it could be a WWE thing, but the fact that you have a press box at the arena, but you won't allow media members to do articles from the arena for these live TV shows unless it's a PLE, I just don't get it. I really don't. And it bums me out. And I can understand maybe they don't want to go through the hassle of bringing somebody in the building, yada, yada, yada. But it's not like I'm seeking access backstage or to do interviews. I'm there to cover the show. And that's really what I want to do. But I have to do it from home. So here's the thing. Like, since Punk has come back since Survivor Series. They've had 3 shows in Chicago, and I missed every single one of them. And this past Friday, really, I wouldn't say put me in a bad mood, but like I said earlier, like I had FOMO. I wanted to be there. I know in my heart that I should have been there, and to see my favorite wrestler, to not see my favorite wrestler there, where he belongs in WWE, it sucks. I'm not gonna lie, it sucks. Comes out with kick off the show, talk about pressure. You asked the crowd if they were there at Money in the Bank. I was fortunately enough to be at that show. Man, almost 13 years ago. It's crazy. But yes, I was at the Money in the Bank show where he defeated John Cena and became the WWE champion. Kind of correlates to his feud right now with Drew McIntyre. And, Drew's promising and talking a big game, but he couldn't get the job done in front of his in front of his people, and in front of his country. And, earlier in the week on Raw, you had Drew McIntyre say, "Hey, I'm quitting." Drew McIntyre was going to quit. And I didn't buy it. I don't think most of you bought it that Drew McIntyre was going to quit and stay away. But, Punk is just a great orator. Guy's one of the best of all time when it comes to promos, make you genuinely believe what is coming from him, his perspective, his intentions. I kind of feel like I'm the same way as far as like I'm direct with how I feel about things, and I want you to feel what I'm feeling, and I'm gonna project that out to you. Now we're both from Chicago, and there is a certain non-filter aspect when it comes to people that are born and raised in Chicago, or an exterior, if you will. But one thing about people from Chicago that we are blunt and we are direct and genuine with how we feel about shit. And we're not going to sugarcoat how we feel about things. And, Punk was just saying, like, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make your career a living hell. And Paul Heyman comes out, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. I was at the Hijack Raw, March 3rd, 2014, the one where we all thought CM Punk was going to come back, and it was Paul Heyman came out. One of the better Heyman promos of all time. If you haven't watched this for yourself, and I think there's a backstory that they did on Inside the Ropes when Heyman was doing like his stand-up tour. Heyman's told the story, but if you haven't watched the promo that Heyman did from that Hijack Raw, where he roundabout way blames the fans for CM Punk leaving WWE initially at that time in a way to promote Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30. It's, in my opinion, it's one of the best promos I've ever heard. And the way to have the crowd in the palm of your hand. Or at least one of the best examples of manipulating a crowd or manipulating and controlling a hostile crowd. Obviously, we know Paul Heyman is one of the greatest performers, promo guys, personalities in the history of professional wrestling, and for a reason. But if you haven't had a chance to watch that promo, go out of your way to watch it because it's very, very good. Anyways, we get this reunion with Punk and Heyman, which is very ironic because the first time they started working with each other on TV was also at the Rosemont Horizon, when Punk was the heel and he had his feud with John Cena, and they drove away in the car. A lot of history in that building. I think Paul Heyman once called the Allstate Arena the Cathedral of Suplex City. Look, man, I know there's a lot of biased New Yorkers out there, but when it comes to consistency and just overall feel, there's no arena in the United States when it comes to professional wrestling that's better from a live event experience and just watching it on TV than the Rosemont Horizon, otherwise known as the Allstate Arena. And I'm very biased for that. I am. I hold no bulls for that. I'm from Chicago and I am biased about it. But objectively, too, it's true. I get it. MSG has history. New York does have good wrestling fans. Now, are they at the level of Chicago? That's a debate for another time. But I would say, and it could be debated, Chicago has had just as much important moments happen and consistency of quality shows over the years than Madison Square Garden. I get it. It's the Mecca. It's the home of WWE and blah, 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 blah. But I think if we take a step back and look at the big moments over the years, Allstate Arena, Rosemont Horizon has just as much or more pertinent moments than Madison Square Garden does. Now, SmackDAHN tomorrow night will be in Madison Square Garden, and I'm curious to see how that crowd reacts compared to what we saw on Friday, because not only has the Rosemont Horizon had the best Raw of 2024, SmackDown has had, the Allstate Arena also had the best SmackDown of 2024. We go back to before WrestleMania, where The Rock shows up out of nowhere and beats the shit out of Cody Rhodes in the parking lot in the rain. The epic segment with The Rock. No, my bad. The epic segment with CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre before WrestleMania. Here we are now, almost in the summer, and we got CM Punk reunited with Paul Heyman. Solo get butthurt. He thinks he's the tribal chief, so he tries to intimidate Punk. Punk says that he acknowledges the fact that he doesn't see the bloodline. He sees a bunch of fake-ass ooses and a cosplay tribal chief. That gets Solo upset. They hop into the ring. Cody Rhodes slides in with 2 baseball bats. And the 2 guys, in a lot of ways, that should have been the pillars and driving forces of what AEW should be in 2024, are standing live in a WWE ring in Allstate Arena. Probably 1A or 1B baby faces in WWE. Funny how that works in the wrestling business, right? But that's another story for another time. Anyways, some good matches too for SmackDown. You know, I was surprised to see Chelsea Green get the victory over Bianca Belair. I thought Bianca was a shoo-in entrant for that match, but I'm also happy for Chelsea. She got a great reception for the crowd for that victory. Carmelo Hayes got a pinfall victory over Randy Orton in that match with Tama Tonga and Randy Orton. I thought that was pretty solid as well. I think the best of the qualifiers that I've seen so far, at least on SmackDown, was the Kevin Owens, Andrade, and Grayson Waller match. That match was fantastic. Andrade has qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match, and I think he's going to do some good stuff there. So it was a night of upsets, a lot of character development across the show. Speaking of CM Punk, he gets absolutely destroyed by Drew McIntyre, drags him through the backstage area. I haven't had a chance to go down that entrance tunnel, like where you drive in. It's inside the arena. I know what it looks like because I've been to that damn place like 100 times in my life. But you know, it's kind of cool, like thinking about it visually as a fan. Like, you know, for those who don't know, who don't live in Chicago, most times throughout the year on a Sunday, they have a flea market in the parking lot of the Allstate Arena. It's called Wolf's Flea Market, and they do this throughout the calendar year. They have flea markets. You can buy stuff, and it's all over the parking lot. And I went to a lot of these flea markets when I was younger. My grandpa, from my mom's side of the family, would take me. It was a little like a Sunday tradition, if you will. And maybe that's why it goes back to like where I am right now in my life of doing all these walks and stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe some muscle memories help me out in ways. But anyways, I don't want to talk about that. What I meant to say is that when I'm going through the flea market and I'm thinking about all these crazy moments that happen in that parking lot, or knowing where the part of the arena where CM Punk left through the crowd for Money in the Bank. You know, where The Rock got ran over by the truck by Hulk Hogan before their match at WrestleMania 18. Or, you know, like I mentioned, I know that area where The Rock whipped Cody Rhodes' ass. Now, I think wisely, the people at Allstate Arena has kind of gated up that parking lot-esque area. They got two separate parking lot areas because there's a part of the arena where you could go through the tunnel under the ground. It's a very interesting complex in how Allstate Arena is structured. I, I can bloviate about the arena to the cows come home. I love it. Obviously, it's my hometown arena. It's the best wrestling venue in the world. If you've never been to a wrestling show at the Allstate Arena, excuse me, you're missing out. Look, I had a good time at those AEW shows at the United Center. Ironically, though, since Forbidden Door is on Sunday, I was at the first Forbidden Door at the United Center. I was at the show where Punk made his debut for that first dance on Rampage. Speaking as a Chicagoan, there's no experience professional wrestling wise that's better than the Allstate Arena. Obviously, the seats there suck, but just the ambience, the environment, the joy, even like the look, like even when you're like driving into the parking lot area, it's like you know, like shit's about to go on, and I think you can feel that from the crowd too. And it's crazy. It's like everything was over in the show. They're cheering the good guys, booing the baby faces, following along with the show, and people are there to have a good time and not trying to hijack the show or make the show about themselves. You know, so Drew McIntyre comes out, beats up CM Punk, steals the bracelet. We heard his promo on Monday. He's like, I got your wife and your stupid looking dog on my bracelet here, which is probably worth 50 cents at best. And I'm watching this and like, you rat bastard. You don't have to bring a man's wife, let alone this innocent dog, into it. I mean, it's bad enough that Larry had such an impact to the point where CM Punk left AEW, and now you gotta drag Larry into this because you're so salty about it, man. Petty McIntyre, that's what I like to call him, Petty McIntyre. Look, that promo on Monday was fantastic. I'm not gonna shit on the guy. I think he's fantastic, but I just can't wait. You know, Drew said he's gonna try to qualify for Money in the Bank. They got Sheamus, Dragunov, and him in a three-way Raw this Monday. That's gonna be a fantastic match. But we all know that CM Punk's gonna cost Drew McIntyre the Money in the Bank match. Think about it, Punk, a former two-time Money in the Bank winner. I have no doubts that he's going to come in Toronto and cost him the match. That's definitely a given. Fucking Ray Charles could see that coming. Like, it's going to happen. So we had that going on. I liked the little touch where McIntyre and Nick Aldis were shoving each other on top of the stage. I thought that was a nice touch. But we'll see what goes on with Drew and CM Punk from there as we get closer to Money in the Bank. Besides that, let me pull something up really quick as I'm talking to you out live. By the way, is there a match that you're looking forward to the most when it comes to Money in the Bank? I'd love to hear from you guys. We had Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa as the main event for SmackDAHN this past Friday. And before the match, Solo was talking to Paul Heyman in the gorilla position, and he was saying, you know, hey, wise man, I hate to tell you this, but I'm saying this because I love you. The tribal chief is not coming back. Roman Reigns is not coming back. By the way, thoughts and prayers and condolences go out to Joe, Roman Reigns, his entire family, and the passing of his father, Sika, from the infamous Wild Samoans, WWE Hall of Famer, one of the best tag team wrestlers of all time. Fortunately passed away this week at the age of 79. So our thoughts, prayers go out to Roman and his family. Um, there's going to be a bloodline acknowledgement ceremony taking place tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. I'm sure Sika will get his flowers and a salute as he's rightfully deserves. But as an interesting wrinkle here, what's going on with Roman Reigns? How's Solo feel like he's so compelled to act like he is the head of the table? In my opinion, I think The Rock is pulling the string. I'm probably not the only person that feels that way. But you got so many different options to see where this angle goes. But that's not the only big thing that happened on Friday. Jacob Fatu made his debut for WWE on SmackDown this past Friday. Yes, I'm biased. I am from Chicago. I think it's the right call to have Jacob make his debut there. Made an impact, laid out Kevin Owens, nasty Samoan drop on the ring stairs, destroyed Randy with the spear through the barricade, that splash through the announce table to Cody. Jacob Fatu is fantastic. I covered a lot of his work in MLW over the years. The guy is a fantastic performer. I think it was the match I think he did on Ric Flair's last match with Josh Alexander, if I'm not mistaken, that I did a couple years ago, which was fantastic as well. Look, man, there's a lot of people talking about Jacob Fatu this week, and I'm not alone in saying this, that this guy is the real deal. He's going to be a big-time player for that group, and I thought the debut went off without a hitch, man. He looks fantastic. Got into great shape. He is a fucking machine, and he's doing very well. So I was happy for him. It was a great way to wrap up that show on Friday. I really wish I was there, but it was a fun time. So I thought SmackDown was a fun show. Then we go over to Raw. Now I think objectively, it was going to be hard to top what happened on last week's edition of Raw, but I thought what I really appreciated about Monday is that we got more context clues with the angles and storylines than just the big time moments. I think you need episodes like you had this past Monday to really make shows like the week prior really stand out. And we all talk about it, right? The build up, anticipation. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And of course, we could talk about the White Six here. But I feel like, for me, I really liked. I think for me personally, I like what I saw on Monday because you got context clues. I really do. I like what I saw. I think that we had more better understanding of where certain angles are going. The continuing stuff with Liv Morgan and Dominic is interesting. Maybe it's not for everybody with the sexual innuendos and stuff like that, but I mean, come on. We can be honest with ourselves. You look at Liv Morgan and you're telling me you're not going to get a turn on, or if you're a guy, you're not going to be folding under pressure if she's trying to hit on you like that. Obviously, she's using the guy. Not naive. She is using the guy, but it's good TV. She's working on her character. She's off her revenge for Rhea Ripley. Now she's trying to win Dominic over by giving him a plate of chicken tenders. If you guys don't remember the whole bit about him loving chicken tenders and stuff like that, that's the only thing that he eats. So he is that. She's trying to win over the Judgment Day. She helps Finn and JD become the tag team champions. But what really stood out to me this week with all the Liv and Dominic and Judgment Day stuff was seeing Liv walk out of the clubhouse as Damian Priest went to go grab his championship for his segment, and she was in there alone with Finn Balor. I think there's something there. Now, I don't know if they're getting it on character-wise, obviously Finn's married, so I'm not going to even try to apply that there's something going on in real life between the two. But we're all making the assumption that it's Liv and Dominic, right? She's using Dominic in a way to get Rhea more upset. Does he generally want to call Dominic Mysterio Daddy Dom? I don't know. Good for him. He has two hot chicks character-wise that are into him, and he's married in real life. Dominic Mysterio is living a good life. Like, you can't really knock the guy. He's having the time of his life. So good for him. Good for him. I'm happy for him. I really am. But this is now the second occasion now where your antennas start perking up when it comes to what's going on with Finn Balor and Liv Morgan. Before Finn joined the Judgment Day, Finn was on a tag team with Liv Morgan. We've seen them interact in the backstage area before. Finn took the hotel room key from Dominic that Liv gave to him. Something's going on here. I know that Finn's the tag champions in some runabout way. Him and JD McGrillet is a transitional champions. I don't think they're going to be tag team champions for long. And then we had what happened with Damian Priest. He gets into this gentleman agreement with Seth Rollins for their World Heavyweight Championship match at Money in the Bank. And Damian says out loud, the Judgment Day needs me more than I need them. So, look, man, something's going on here between Liv Morgan and Finn Balor, and this is another loophole for her to go after Rhea Ripley, where in essence she takes her man, gets rid of her brother that started this whole group together in the first place with Damian Priest, tossing him to the side, and now her effectively being the leader of the new Judgment Day under her supervision, if you will. So I don't know about you guys, but look, I know maybe some of the stuff with the sexual innuendos and stuff like that may not be for everybody, but for me, for my enjoyment, and hey, I'm a kid for the Attitude Era. Like, it's okay to have these segments here and there. It's not going to kill anybody. I, just as much as anybody loves a good 5-star wrestling match and stuff like that, and seriousness and everything that makes pro wrestling. But when you have effective storytelling like this, it's okay if you're having some flirting banter and stuff that helps help characters take your stock up to the next level. That's what I'm really enjoying the most, what's going on with the Judgment Day. There's going to be changes once we get closer and closer to SummerSlam. But you have, within the Judgment Day, you got different subsets of things that are not only affecting the group, but it's also affecting the World Heavyweight Championship, the World Tag Team titles now, and the Women's World Championship. So I think that's a testament to how good the Judgment Day is as a group, that this stuff with Liv Morgan is now affecting almost 3 different championships on the same brand. I think that's pretty impressive. I don't know if anybody's pointed that out besides me, maybe because I have a different perspective in the way I transcribe these shows. But Liv Morgan literally has ties on the future of the World Heavyweight Championship, the Women's World Championship, and the tag titles. And who knows if somebody from Judgment Day finds their way in Money in the Bank. We'll see. So we had that. We had a couple other qualifier matches. Lyra Valkyria picked up a victory over Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane. Very, very good match. That was probably one of my matches of the week so far. That triple threat match was fantastic. Chad Gable is good. He's all good. He's all ready to go. Chad Gable is alive. Chad Gable won his qualifying match, so he'll be in the Money in the Bank ladder match as well. Braun Breaker and Ludwig Kaiser was another match that stood out to me from Raw this Monday. I really enjoyed that match. Braun and Sammy are going to be fantastic at Money in the Bank. Um, I mentioned the tag title switch. Drew's promo as well was good. But I think the takeaway from Raw this past Monday, besides the stuff with the Judgment Day, is what we saw with, I'm going to say, Taylor Rotunda and Uncle Howdy. That sit-down interview was some of the most thought-provoking pieces of content that I've seen in a while in professional wrestling. The emotion, the flow of the conversation, and I didn't even think about it at first that was the idea that they were going to go with trying to bring these characters back onto the show. Also, we know who's under these masks. We know who's in the group, so I could give credit where credit's due. I think Triple H is, in a way, better than Vince McMahon, where he's not going to put a blind eye to who we've seen on TV before. He's not naive in that manner. I think I wouldn't be surprised if this was his call. Like, okay, we know who you are. Let's get the backstory of what's got you to this point where you are wearing a Tom Petty-esque hat and a trench coat. And, I don't know if they're going to do this every week. It'd be a little challenge to keep it interesting where you're just doing one interview for each character every single week. Maybe it's something you could do on social. Maybe it's something where Uncle Howdy interviews Nikki Cross, Dexter Lumis, and Joe Gacy at the same time. Maybe you could do it there. But I think for me, I think it was very important to have Uncle Howdy and Bo talk to each other. And, address the elephant in the room. Like, are you exploiting your brother's legacy? And I thought Taylor did a fantastic job. I thought it was a really smart call. Context clues is very important in professional wrestling, especially for characters like this that's kind of unique to what we usually see on a wrestling show. You felt the emotion through his eyes. You could see the facial expressions of how much this loss still affects him. And you believe it too. How all this translates to the ring, I don't know. I don't have that answer. That's the intrigue of it. We don't know where this is going, what the true intention is at the end of the day. But I think it's very important to have a starting point here with Bo Dallas. I think it would be also good to have Eric Rowan have his own interview in a way. Maybe you can do that this Monday where it's just Rowan getting featured. And then the third week you have Uncle Howdy interviewing Nikki, Dexter, and Joe Gacy at the same time. But it's also very important because I think in a lot of ways Uncle Howdy and whoever the character that Eric Rowan is playing this time is very important to what the group is going to be. If you look at it in the big picture standpoint, I think the three biggest people that will matter in this group is Uncle Howdy, obviously, Eric Rowan, and Alexa Bliss, whenever she decides to come back. So you have a lot of options and a lot of things to look out for when it comes to this group. What's going to happen? What should we keep our eyes on? Are they going for championships? Are they here to cause chaos? As the Judgment Day starts to disintegrate from within, does the White Six now become the most intimidating group on Raw? A lot of different questions, but whoever made the call to have this sit down interview with Taylor Rotunda and Uncle Howdy, I thought it was a great call. It really was. I'm happy for Taylor. I had a chance to interview him before when I was covering WrestleMania in California a few years back, and I could be happy for him. I think this group is interesting, it's unique, and I really enjoyed what we saw on Monday. I thought it was really cool. So that's that. Let's take a look at the card here really quick for Money in the Bank. Here for the men's ladder match, we got Jey Uso taking on Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, and Chad Gable. There will be 2 more qualifying matches. One, we have Chad Gable. No, we have Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Ilya Dragunov, which is going to be a barn burner on Monday. And then the other men's match for SmackDown tomorrow night. I don't know if that's announced yet, but for the women's match for the Money in the Bank, we got Io Sky against Chelsea Green and Laya Valkyria. We got a couple of women's qualifier matches on SmackDown tomorrow night. I think one has Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill, and I think it's Indy Hartwell in the match. Yeah, that one should be pretty interesting. This one is also interesting in a way too. Damian Priest against Seth freaking Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. If Priest wins, Rollins can never challenge for the title for as long as Priest is champion. And this is the wrinkle that I thought was interesting on Monday. You have if Priest loses, he's out of the Judgment Day. So that's that. Priest and Rollins. I think this could be something where, and look, I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to hot potato championships, and we haven't seen this a lot with WWE in a while. So I think it's okay. You can do it in this scenario where, okay, Priest maybe will lose the title because the story with the Judgment Day is so much bigger that him losing the title doesn't necessarily ruin his stock or his potential or brings down the quality of the World Heavyweight Championship. But irregardless, I do feel whoever wins this match is losing the championship anyways to Gunther. You want to talk about inevitability, Gunther will be your World Heavyweight Champion. So I like the wrinkle here because it does tie in with the storyline stuff that I was talking about earlier. But for the Intercontinental Championship, Sami Zayn against Braun Breaker, that could definitely steal the show. And then the match that was made on Monday, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens taking on the Bloodline in a 6-man tag team match. Now, we don't know which 3 members of the Bloodline will be taking on Cody Rhodes. It could be something where it's just G.O.D. and Jacob Fatu and Solo watches on from the outside. That could be the case. We'll have to see how that one plays out. But that Bloodline acknowledgement ceremony should be pretty interesting tomorrow night. So that's that with Money in the Bank. I do want to mention one more thing before we get to our next segment here. And I just want to go over quickly the matches for NXT Heatwave also coming up that weekend of Money in the Bank. So let's take a look at this. Roxanne Perez against Lola Vice for the NXT Women's Championship match. 2 fiery Latinas going after each other on pay-per-view. That should be a good match. Speaking of good matches, we have Ova Femi putting his NXT North American Championship on line against Wes Lee. If Femi wins, Lee can never challenge for the title as long as Femi is the champion. So, last chance opportunity here for Wes Lee. It's going to be a good match. Kalani Jordan putting her NXT Women's North American Championship on the line against Sol Ruka. Battle of 2 young baby faces fighting each other. It's going to be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to that match. It should be very athletic. It's a clash of styles, obviously, but I don't know. Maybe this could be a one-off thing for Kalani Jordan. I don't know if she's gonna have a long title reign or not, but we'll have to see how this plays out. Let's continue on here. Nathan Frazier and Axiom putting their NXT Tag Team titles on the line against Chase University, Andre Chase and Duke Hudson, and then the match made official this past Tuesday at NXT, a 4-way match for the NXT Championship as Trick Williams will take on Javon Evans, Ethan Page, and Shawn Spears, who got the pinfall victory over Trick on NXT this week, which I thought was a pretty good match. If you haven't seen that match with Trick and Shawn Spears from Tuesday, go out of your way to check it out because I think they meshed well with each other. And for a first-time match, I thought those two had a really, really good match. And, shout out to Tony D'Angelo and Nathan Frazier. Their Heritage Cup match on Tuesday was fantastic, too. So, all in all, that is what happened this week in WWE. If you have any more comments or takeaways, good, bad, or indifferent, love to hear from you guys. But before we get to our main event segment, there's something that we do here on the podcast each and every single week, and it's called, and we crown winners. We do this every single week on the podcast. Love to get your suggestions as well. Give me up at Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. Let us know, who do you think is this week's CLAHN of the week?
I'm not CLAHN. You're big CLAHN.
One more time for good measure.
I'm not CLAHN. You're big CLAHN.
All right, before I crown the winner of the CLAHN of the week this week, I'll take a swig of water really quick, okay? Okay. Oh, man, this one's going to be controversial. I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but I don't care. I don't. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the CLAHN of the week this week is anybody that's subjecting themselves to tonight's debate with Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Yep, I'm going with the debates tonight. Anybody who's subjecting themselves to this debate are clowns. You're getting nothing of substance from either side of the party. For those who want to know what my perspective is on this stuff, I'm independent. I'm not Republican, nor am I Democratic. I think for myself, and both sides are both full of their own shit, and their collective parties and supporters too are full of their own collective shit. What I will say here is that this has the makings of being a complete and utter car wreck. The fact that a guy that's being proved to be guilty on criminal charges is still being allowed to do debates and be on the ballot for a presidential spot is just freaking blasphemous to me. If you want my honest opinion on the whole situation, I already know it's a three-ring circus and it's a publicity stunt, and it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Because look, you can have your favorites. You can be a Joe Biden supporter. You can be a Donald Trump supporter. At the end of the day, nobody's going to be happy regardless of who wins the elections this year. And this country is already a melting pot of stupidity as it is. So, look, I'm not going to subject myself to a bunch of hot wind with no substance kind of coming out of neither of these guys' mouths. So, yeah, CLAHN of the week is anybody subjecting themselves to this stupid-ass debate that's going on tonight. No, thank you. I'm good. Pass. All right. Got that out of the way. Let me do a excrement impression for this Forbidden Door show coming up on Sunday. Let's do this, shall we? We haven't done this in a while. Here we go. Wow, come. I gotta get the voice inflection here. I haven't done this in a while. All right, coming to you live from the UBS Arena from Plainview. Okay, here we go. Coming to you live this Sunday, live from the UBS Arena on Long Island, New York. It is the annual tradition of AEW vs. New Japan presents the Forbidden Door. Here's your matches. First announced on the 0 hour matches. The first of 3 pre-show matches. We have Chris Statlander and Momo Watanabe taking on Will Nightingale and Tam Nakano. Next, a match for the Women's Own Heart Cup Tournament first round matchup as Mariah May takes on Saraya. And a trios match taking on, as we have the Lucha Brothers and Mystico taking on LIJ members Yoda Tsuji, Titan, and Hiromu Takahashi. Next, a ladder match for the vacated AEW TNT Championship as Kanose Takeshita takes on Mark Briscoe, Jack Perry, Dante Barton, Leo Rush, and El Phantasmo. Next, for the AEW Women's World Championship, it's Timeless Tony Storm taking on Mina Shirakawa. Next, a match. It's winner takes all. It's for the AWTS Championship and the New Japan Strong Women's Championship as Mercedes Moné takes on Stephanie Vancouver. Then next, a match made official on Dynamite last night. It's a trios match as the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, and Big Bill and Jeff Cobb takes on the team of Samoa Joe, Hook, and Kazuchika Shibata. Next, a match make years in the making. It's Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Orange Cassidy. Zack Sabre Jr. against Orange Cassidy. What in the fuck are we doing? Anyways, this next match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, it's Jon Moxley taking on Tetsuya Naito. Next, a match made official a couple weeks ago on Dynamite as MJF takes on Hashishiro. A trios match made official on Dynamite as well as the Elite of the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada taking on Scissors Aches as Hiroshi Tanahashi leaks up with the Acclaim. Next, a match in the first round match of the Men's Own Heart Cup tournament is Bryan Danielson taking on the Rampage Dragon himself, Shingo Takagi. And the main event for the AEW World Championship is the champion Swerve Strickland taking on AEW International Champion Will Ospreay. More matches to be announced. Make sure to follow Tony Khan on Twitter at Tony Khan and get all your tickets right now at AWTIX.com. Repeat, that's AWTIX.com. Woo! All right. I need to drink some water, but when we come back, we got more stuff to do here on the podcast, and it's the Back Porch Q&A session. We'll be right back here on episode 419 of the Hoots Podcast. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, one more something to do here on the podcast this week. Time to answer your questions in this week's edition of the Back Porch Q&A session. For those who are watching live here on YouTube, please do me a favor and like this video and subscribe to our channel as we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Open to answer any of your questions. Could be about anything about life, relationships, music, sports. Just don't ask me a question about the New York Knicks because I'm not a Knicks fan and everything in regards to New York sucks. So don't ask me any New York questions. Anyways, I got questions this week from the good brother Chris Zaletta at X Team Zaletta 24X. Let's throw up the X here for Chris. Here we go. What up, Boost? Here's the questions for the Q&A this week. Is being a genuine person a gift and a curse? Wow. A big one out of the gate. Holy shit. Is being genuine a gift and a curse? I think spiritually it can be a gift because you're staying true to what makes you you. And being authentic and being genuine is never a bad thing. It's really a touchy topic because I've been thinking about this myself. You know, I've been in a little bit of a reflective mood over the last couple of weeks, and since I've come back from Florida, and I wonder at times, and maybe this is a bad thing, but I wondered how things would have been different for me in my life collectively if I was more of a douchebag or not being as nice as I am or genuine or sweet as I am over the years. What would have been if I wasn't what if I stood up for myself more when I was dealing with bullying in school, or maybe spoke up more for myself when I was in such a shell that I didn't want to open myself up when I was in high school. You know, talk to anybody, you hear about the whole nice guys finish last. Lord knows how many times I've been rejected, been used. My success of love life is equivalent to being a Chicago sports fan. It's very hit and miss. It's few and far between. But I wonder about that. Is being genuine and sweet a bad thing? It shouldn't be, but I'm also not naive to what society is in 2024. I think people use people for their genuineness. I think people use people for their sweetness and tell you how great they are, how great you are, and how pure you are as a person. But there's always a but this, a but that comes attached to it, where either there's this figurative standard that you can't meet because for whatever reasons, and I can use this in a relationship context. It doesn't matter if you're genuine. It doesn't matter if you're nice. It doesn't matter if you follow through with your actions and your words. At the end of the day, chicks are gonna follow their lust instincts, and it doesn't matter if the guy that treats them like shit says whatever they want. They always go back to that guy because there's that attraction, right? There's that want to try to fix the bad boy, the situationship, and a lot of women like to validate themselves and try to convince themselves that that's stuff that can help them, as opposed to having a real relationship with someone that's genuine, that wants to communicate and listen to them and stuff like that. It's a touchy subject, obviously. uh, I don't want people to feel like being genuine is a bad thing. You should be genuine. I say this on the podcast every week. Be the authentic product that is yourself. I live that to a T to myself. I wear that on my heart and sleeve of how genuine and authentic of a person I am. But there's also, when it comes to life, where nothing you do is good enough too. So I can understand in a way where maybe it's a curse. You don't know what is you. Okay, I'm being genuine. I'm being a good person. I'm doing this right. I'm doing all the right things, saying all the right things. But there's always a but this, and there's this that. So what is it? Do you need the balance of being a nice, genuine guy with a mixture of being an asshole and a douchebag who gaslights women and et cetera, et cetera? Like, what is it? What is it that people are looking for at the end of the day? What is it? To ask if being genuine is a blessing and a curse, to a certain extent, yeah, it is. I hate saying that, but I have to be honest with how society is. The fact that people still validate situationships in 2024 is goofy to me, because you're wasting energy. And okay, just say what it is. You're fuck buddies. That's what it is. There's nothing genuine there. There's no loyalty. There's no commitment. There's nothing real with feelings. It's okay, I'm going to tolerate you. You're convenient for me to have sex with. And maybe we can hang out here and there. But what else is there? That's not being genuine. That's not even being a real person. You're stringing somebody along, like the clip I played at the beginning of the show. So I'm glad you asked this, Chris, because I think it's a very important topic to ask out there, because especially relationships and just life in general, it's strange in a way where people thumb their nose at people who are genuine and nice, but it's always the guys that are the assholes and etc. that get all the benefits at the end of the day, right? Too. So, what is it? Maybe I'm realizing today here on June 27th that I gotta be an asshole sometimes. Who knows? Let's continue on here. Osprey or Swerve at Forbidden Door? Man, that's a good question. I want to go with Swerve, but I feel like Tony Khan is so desperate for clinging on to the Dave Meltzer's Booker of the Year award. So I think he's just trying to do a hot shot thing where he just gives Will the title And, it's a hotshot thing to appease that side of the audience. I don't think Will needs to be a double champion. I don't think this match should be happening right now. But what do I say all the time about AEW? They're the masters of dropping their load when they don't have to. So that's that. Let's continue on here. Your thoughts on the Bulls pick of Matisse Buzelis. Got that right. Matisse Buzelis. Look, I don't know much about G League basketball. I don't watch much of it. I'm happy with the pick because he looks like a impressive athlete. He's from the Chicago area, so it's an added bonus. But look, Chris, I told you before, I'm not a college basketball fan. I don't watch women's basketball, so I can't really help out with those type of questions. But from what I see in it, he looks impressive, and any positive addition with the Bulls would be a good thing. Thoughts on Dijak hitting free agency? Look, like I said in the beginning of the show, I think it's a fortunate thing for WWE. He's not somebody that you should be letting go like that. I'm a big fan of Dijak. I think he's had a great run in WWE, and it's a real shame that he's not continuing there. It really is. So I think he's going to get on a hot streak, whatever he decides his next promotion is going to be, and I'm wishing him the best. Thoughts on Indy's deal for all three big PLEs? Look, I think it's cool, and I think this could be the wave of the future. I really do. I think that, you could find a city where you could have future events lined up. I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of years or so that they bring a WrestleMania back here to Chicago. I think it'd be really cool. Do they get a three show deal like Indy does? I think it would only make sense, but again, it's going to be very hard for Chicago to get one of these shows with the fact that we have probably the worst stadium in all sports, the Jimmy Neutron ship in the lakefront property, and it's just a shit show. It really is. I don't want to say it like that, but it is. It's a dump. So, anyways, I don't got much to say about it, to be honest with you. So, I'm happy for Indy. I think those fans deserve it. Lucas Oil Stadium is a cool stadium. I've never been there before, but watching like football games there on TV, it looks cool. Playing it on Madden, the stadium looks cool. So they'll get the Royal Rumble next year. I probably think SummerSlam would be after that. Or maybe WrestleMania 42 is in Indy. Right? Like WrestleMania 42 would be in Indy. I can see that being the case. Or you could have, it could be Rumble, Indy, and then SummerSlam. However they plan it out, maybe this could be like a 5-year thing amongst 3 shows. I have to ask my guy Andrew Baydala on how that whole situation is going to play out, because it's unique. I never saw this where a city linked up with multiple big-time PLEs like that. So I'd love to get some more perspective from his point of view on how they would roll out those shows. And Drew works in the ticket business, so I would get a better understanding from him. But it's definitely interesting. I'm happy for the fans in Indy. It's close to where I am because Indiana is really like next door to Chicago. But it's going to be a little different for me now since I'm moving out of Chicago soon. So it's a little different. But I am happy for those fans in Indianapolis, and I think that they deserve to have all these shows coming their way. So hope that answers your question. Shout out Chris for the questions this week. Appreciate you, brother, as always. All right, last set of questions here from the good brother Mike Rubio at Main Event Swerve. He says, "What up, Oos? I hope your official summer season is off to a solid start, and it's good to be back in the back porch. Here's some questions for this week. Liv Morgan's on another level right now. When do you think she hits the top tier of the women's wrestlers in WWE?" That's a good question. She's definitely heading towards and leaning towards that direction. I do believe that Liv Morgan could become like a face of the women's division. I'd probably say as we get closer to next year's WrestleMania season, that would be my best guess on that. But that's a good question. Rhea Ripley is going to give Liv a complete beatdown at some point. Is that how this Liv and Dom thing ends? I would say that it necessarily ends because, like I said earlier with Finn Balor, he's going to be lumped into this situation here. I just have to believe that's where it's going to go. And Liv's been using Dom the entire time, where she's really more attracted to Finn on TV. But that's how I see it playing out. Speaking of edgy storylines, what do you think of WWE moving to Netflix and not having censorship issues? Do you think the PG era will end, and should it? Look, I've had this conversation before plenty of times over the years on this podcast. I don't think it matters what the rating of your show is. It's the content that matters at the end of the day. You could have swearing, you could have more adult-based storylines. You could do a lot of stuff that you didn't ask there, but at the end of the day, if the show's not good, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of crappy shit that we saw during the acid era too. It wasn't just flawless the entire time. So I don't think that just because they're moving to Netflix doesn't mean that they can't continue to market to kids and do what's been successful for them from a business standpoint. But should the PG era end? It's not for me to say. If I was a kid or a teenager, right now, I'd be having a blast with this era of WWE. What but it needs to change? Do we need to have every promo be a curse fest? Do we need bra and panties matches back? I don't know. But it's not for me to say whether it needs to end or not. What do you think about the indie deal with Lucas Oil Stadium? Do you like one venue having 3 major pay-per-views if spread out each year? Yeah, like I said earlier, I think it's an interesting concept, and I think those fans in Indianapolis do deserve it. So I have no problem with that. I think it's pretty cool. Bianca Belair invited Caitlin Clark to compete in the Royal Rumble. Would you like to see that? And will she do it? It's WNBA off season at that time. Look, if she wants to do it, great. I don't watch women's basketball, so I can't really speak on it. But if she wants to do something like that, I think that would be cool. Speaking of, are you a Chicago Sky fan? Are you aware that teams have awesome rookies like Angel Reese and Camila Cardozo? I guess I'd be a Chicago Sky fan by default. I mean, I do live here after all. But again, I don't watch much of the WNBA, so I can't really add on to it. But I appreciate the question, brother. Speaking of Chicago teams, the White Sox shut out the Astros in the game last week. Do you see your team going on a wild card run with several quality games like that in a row? No. The Sox, brother, the Sox have 60 losses already. It's not even July yet. The White Sox are not making the playoffs. They are a absolute tire fire. No, the White Sox will not be making the playoffs this year. No shot. Joe Henry's NXT videos, 17 million views in a week. How much should WWE believe in Joe Henry going forward? Believe and then believe some more. That's all I'll say about that. Believe that. Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Henry. I believe in Joe Henry. Man, that song's catchy. American, Scotland, and Canada, and Mexico. Oh man, Joe Henry's the best, man. Let's continue on here. TNA Wrestling's been pretty supportive of these WWE tie-ins. I have to wonder, is Ethan Page just in NXT now? He sees more in the door than others we've seen. I think he's in NXT. I don't think this other word is a one-off and he's going back to TNA. This is a NXT exclusive superstar, so I think Ethan Page is exclusive with NXT. And I think he made it official at the show that I was at a few weeks ago. I think Ethan Page is exclusive to WWE. Let's continue on here. What do you think of Money in the Bank matches being triple threat now? I see more intrigue and surprise that way. Look, I think it's cool too. As far as the qualifying concept, I think it's cool. When it comes to just like typing out matches, doing transcripts, nobody lays out triple threat matches better in the wrestling business than WWE, and it's not even close. It's fun. They accentuate the pauses from all three competitors, and I just like the flow of WWE triple threat matches. I've been saying that for years. Very consistent with that. Jacob Fatu was very impressive last Friday. What can you say about his work, and what should we watch for going forward? Look, Jacob Fatu doesn't have to talk. He could if you want him to, but he doesn't have to talk. Jacob Fatu is a weapon, and that's what you can look forward to. He is a destructive beast. That's what I'll say. He's going to be a player, and he's going to do a lot of good stuff. And I'm very happy for his success. Have you watched Who Killed WCW yet from Vice? Who or what do you think killed WCW? No, I have not watched that yet. Mike, I want to. I just been very busy. I haven't had a chance to catch up with that series. But to that question, it's a combination of many things. But I think at the end of the day, the executives at Turner Broadcasting are the people that killed WCW. Because at the end of the day, they had the control of keeping the momentum with the company. And I'm just one of those wrestling fans and analysts is not going to sit here and say that a booking decision or a series of booking decisions is a reason why wrestling companies decide to disintegrate and go away. Leadership, how the organization is run, and the backing support of that said organization matters the most. And I think it's very obvious over the years from multiple documentaries that we watched that for many years, the Turner Broadcasting Network didn't care whether they had wrestling or not. Honestly, Ted Turner wanted it, so it was kind of like they had WCW there, but it was begrudgingly. And I think they were responsible more than anybody else for it going away. I generally believe that. You could blame Russo, you could blame Eric Bischoff, you could blame Hulk Hogan, but at the end of the day, it's the executives at WCW that brought that company to where it went to, unfortunately. Next question. Did you pay attention to the NBA draft last night? Anything notable for the Bulls? No, I didn't. I was watching How I Met Your Mother last night. And I was also watching Love Island. Catching up on season 6 of Love Island. I think I'm on episode 7 or 8 right now. So I'm trying to catch up with that guy. I started that show a little late too. But yeah, I didn't watch the draft, but I heard about the guy that the Bulls got. And he seems like an interesting prospect. He really does. So hopefully it all works out for him. Supposedly, SmackDAHN had a new writer last Friday, and a lot of people, not Meltzer, are saying it was the SmackDAHN year. So was that more about the writing, or is it Chicago? It's a little bit of both. I think that it's just the momentum of where the company is right now. And obviously, when you come to Chicago for a WWE show, it's going to be good vibes. The crowd always delivers. It doesn't matter what's on the card. They're going to make that show feel as big as it needs to be. That's why it's the best WWE arena in the United States. I knew this one was coming. What do you think of the Haktua girl getting signed to a talent deal? Is a drunken quote gone viral worth a talent deal? No and no. That's all I gotta say about that. I wanted to make her decline Louis because how much I've had to see this stuff plastered to all my social media timelines recently, but no, that requires no talent. We already know what you do the Hawk Tour to. So what makes you special? You're no different than the other 90 other blonde chicks that look just like you. Have you seen the Madam Web yet? It was trippy to me, but what's the most trippy movie you ever seen? Gone Girl with Ben Affleck. Watch it and you'll understand why I said that. Walgreens is closing like 25% of its stores soon. When was the last time you went to a Walgreens in your area? I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago. No, there's a Walgreens at my old apartment that I used to live in a couple years ago. So I'd probably say 2 years ago was the last time I was in a Walgreens. What do you think about JJ Redick with no coaching experience taking over as the Lakers head coach? Do you think that experience matters for professional coaching? Yes, I do think coaching experience does matter. I think it does matter. What I'll say about JJ Redick is I know that he's a straight shooter and he doesn't take shit from anybody. I do admire that about him. Is this something where he's gonna be a little too in over his head? We'll have to see. I'm gonna give him time. I don't want to say that it's gonna be a instant failure. But the Lakers, yeah, you can capitalize on winning the championship in a COVID bubble. But since Kobe left, the Lakers are not the model standard of consistency as their brand used to be when I was younger. I don't think Rob Pelinka is that great as an executive, to be honest with you. But we'll see how it goes. I wish them success, but I do think, yes, experience does matter when it comes to coaching. What are you more likely to watch this season? MLB games or WNBA games? I'd probably say MLB games, just by default. Number 20, what is your favorite storyline in WWE right now? Thanks for giving us this awesome show to go with the amazing time in wrestling right now. Peace, Oos. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Make sure to follow Mike, by the way, on Twitter at Main Event Swerve. Look, my favorite storyline right now in WWE is the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre story. This is stuff that I enjoy the most. Honestly, that's my favorite wrestler there, so there's a little bias to it. But I think objectively, I think it's the best feud in professional wrestling right now. And I also like what's going on with the Judgment Day. That's a close second. But now that the bloodline is not, since Roman's not there, The Rock's not there, I can't say it's the bloodline story. But I think for me right now, my favorite storyline right now is CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. So that'd be my pick. But I want to thank Mike and Chris for the great questions this week. As always, if you want to participate in the back porch Q&A session, all you have to do is hit me Twitter at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. Make sure to hit the like button here on YouTube if you're watching live. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. It's on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're going to put a ribbon and bow on this week's episode. Next week will be episode 420. This came in the mail today. I told anybody this, but I'm going to start learning how to drive soon. So my mom sent me this book from Amazon today, which, look, I appreciate it, getting a little context and stuff, but I kind of wish this was a Florida rules of the road, but you got to start somewhere. So I appreciate her sending me this. And I'm going to take a look at this, but there's a lot of adult stuff that I got to take care of over the next couple of months or so, and so I can get out of here as soon as possible. But besides that, folks, remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. Remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. You can follow me on Twitter if you like, at the Hoots Podcast, at Joshie Lopez Music on Instagram. Make sure to follow our show on Spotify. That's the most important part. Follow the show on Spotify. We need to get it up there so it helps increase our opportunity to start making money again from Spotify and Anchor. That's the best way to do it, is to follow the show on Spotify. But hit me up. Comment down below what are you looking forward to for the Forbidden Door on Sunday. Anything else wrestling related, you comment down below. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I love you guys. This has been episode 419 of the Hoots Podcast, and we'll see you next week for episode 420. Yeet. Talk to y'all later. Peace.